Yeah, I know the movie's been out a couple weeks already, and I know it's after Christmas, but damn it, I'm wearing my Star Wars Santa hat for this video. Welcome to Star Joes. I'm your host Ryan, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review for the first time, and that is, of course, for Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, I know Rogue One's been out for a little while already, and you've probably already seen several reviews, so really I'm not going to be telling you anything that you probably haven't heard. However, I will tell you if you've not seen the movie, then you're going to want to stop watching the video right now, go see the movie, and then come back. Or if you just don't really care about spoilers, then certainly stick around. So that is your spoiler warning. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I am going to be talking about some things. I'm going to try not to spoil too much for you. But there's certainly some things that I want to talk about, and I can't do so without spoiling it. And like I said, the movie's been out for a couple weeks already, so if you haven't seen it already, then like I said, I would recommend not watching this video just yet, because I don't want to spoil anything for you, because there's some really cool things that happen. But this is really for those that have already seen the movie and just want to get another person's perspective on it. Now, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, this movie takes place right before Star Wars A New Hope, or as I knew it as a child, it was just known as Star Wars. Because when it first came out, they didn't know that they were going to have any sequels. They didn't know if it was going to be successful. So it was just known as Star Wars. And it wasn't until the re-release that they actually called it Episode 4, A New Hope. And when it comes to Rogue One, man, this movie goes right up against Star Wars A New Hope. I mean, it ends with everything that you see at the beginning of A New Hope. In fact, the second you see the movie, you're going to want to go home and watch A New Hope. It's as simple as that. I've yet to talk to anyone that didn't say that they felt like watching A New Hope right afterwards. And I think it's because it gives a whole new perspective on that movie. At the end of Rogue One, you see basically the plans being chased down by the Empire. And at the beginning of A New Hope, you see the plans being chased down by the Empire. But now there's a little bit more urgency when you watch those scenes. You realize how close they were to achieving their objective. It's absolutely amazing how intense the beginning of A New Hope became and what happened throughout the rest of that movie. You start looking at things a little bit differently. There's things that happen in Rogue One that explain things and take away maybe some of the jokes that have been out there. Obviously, for the longest time, it was seen as a joke as to, well, why is there this one shaft that was left open so this way a little torpedo could go down in there and blow up this entire Death Star? Well, Rogue One answers that for you. Now, not to get too far ahead of myself, getting into some of the characters when it comes to this movie, it's probably one of the flaws of the movie for a lot of critics. Wasn't so much for me. You have characters like Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, K2SO, Chirrut Imwe, and a whole host of other characters throughout the entire movie that you get introduced to. A lot of the critics out there have said, well, there's not as much character development with these characters. I don't really know a whole lot about them outside maybe Jyn Erso. And that's totally true. I'm not knocking that at all. I'm not knocking their critiques at all when it comes to that. But for me as a fan who's always enjoyed the expanded universe, the thing I got excited about was that maybe I'm going to get some books and some comics that delve more into these characters, that give us a little bit more than what I saw in the movie. That gets me excited. Now, if you're someone that only wants to see everything on film, and then I can certainly understand why not learning as much as you could about these characters, or maybe them just giving one little line about their past, isn't really enough for you. But like I said, for me, it's something like, well, okay, give me more. Let me see more. Let me learn more about these characters. It got me really jazzed, and I'm hoping that we'll see something from Marvel Comics or from Del Rey Books come out that really tells me more about these characters. I would love a prequel to what happened before Rogue One occurred for these characters. I want to learn how Jyn Erso learned how to fight. I want to learn about her time with Saw Gerrera. I want to learn about Cassian Andor and what caused him to finally turn against the Empire and decide he needed to do something. I want to see how K2SO became reprogrammed. I want to learn all about this. I want to learn about Orson Krennic and how he rose to power. I really want to learn about all these characters in the expanded universe, and I think trying to put all of that into this one movie would have really bogged it down. At the beginning of the movie, we do jump around an awful lot. We get to see this character and that character, and it's all kind of very disjointed, but then it all does come together in the second half of the movie, and it comes together really, really well. I will say the one weak character for me was Forrest Whitaker's character, and that's of Saw Gerrera. I love Forrest Whitaker as an actor. I love a lot of the movies he's been in. I don't blame him for this part, but I do blame a little bit of the direction for this, and maybe a little bit of the screenwriting. It was a character that probably wasn't really needed, and his portrayal of having this raspy voice just really took me a little bit out here and there. Also, the interrogation creature that they use really could have done without that as well. Now, I will say, to the credit of a character like this, number one, Saw Gerrera was a character that we saw in the Clone Wars animated series, which I thought was fantastic. In fact, there's a lot of nods to the Clone Wars animated series, and there's a lot of nods to the Rebels animated series that's out right now. Now, when it comes to Saw Gerrera's character, the thing I did like about him is that we got to see the extremist side of the rebellion. So, in the real world, when you have, left versus right and right versus wrong, it doesn't come out exactly like that. There's a lot of gray in between, but you also have your extremists. And when you watch A New Hope and you watch The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, you really see the rebels as just being the guys wearing the white hats, and you see the Empire as the guys wearing the black hats. And Rogue One really kind of shows you that even the rebellion side had some people doing some dirty things. In fact, you even have Cassian Andor do something at the beginning of the movie where you're just like, okay, is this a good guy? Is he supposed to be a good guy? Am I cheering for him? It's really interesting to see those gray areas, and it's always also interesting to see the extreme side of the rebellion, and that's what Saw Gerrera's character did for me. So for that, I am grateful to actually have seen the character in the movie. Now, the standout character for me, aside from Jyn Erso, who I thought was a fantastic character, and I was absolutely thrilled to learn more and more about her, and I hope I get to see more about her in the comics or in books. But the character that really stood out for me was K2SO. Now, K2SO was the droid. He is probably about 7-8 feet tall, and he was a reprogrammed Imperial droid. He was reprogrammed by the Rebellion, and he has the voice of C-3PO in a sense. So he's very proper, very polite sounding in a sense, but he's got the attitude of R2-D2, and I found that really awesome, because if you could hear what R2-D2 was saying instead of the bleeps and the chirps and everything else, I think it would be pretty close to what you hear K2SO say in Rogue One. I thought when it came to Orson Krennic as a character, as far as a villain goes, I thought it was absolutely fantastic as a villain. In fact, much like Vader stepping onto the blockade runner at the beginning of A New Hope, and you knew this was the bad guy, there's an opening scene like that with Orson Krennic, where right away you know he is the bad guy. Now let's talk about Vader. Vader does appear in this movie. He appears very sparingly, but I will actually say that when he appears, it's probably some of the most impactful moments we've seen of Vader. In fact, at the very end of the movie, the last 5-10 minutes are probably the most amazing moments with Vader that we've ever seen on film. Now, when it comes to bad guys, I also want to mention that, and this is a huge spoiler out there for you guys, so if you haven't turned this off yet and have not seen the movie, I highly recommend stopping now, because I don't want to ruin this for you, because this was a big surprise for me. But in the movie, I had heard rumors that we were going to see Grand Moff Tarkin again. However, I assumed it was going to be a recasting, and we just hadn't heard who was going to be cast in the role, anything like that. Oh no, that's not what happened at all. What we got a CG version of Grand Moff Tarkin, and it was done extremely well. Yes, when you look at it, I understand there's been a lot of critics of this. When you look at it, you can tell it's CG. There's no doubt about it. But it's at a level that we have never seen before. And that's the thing I really appreciate about Star Wars movies. They push the envelope every single time. So whether you like the movies or not, whether you're a fan of the prequels or not, every time a Star Wars movie's come out, they've pushed the envelope of technology. They've pushed the envelope of what can be done in a film. And I really do feel that the Tarkin character that we saw, the Leia character at the very end, the pilots that we saw throughout the movie, all of those things really, to me, were game changers when it comes to filmmaking in the future, because it's only going to get better. And I do want to also commend Gareth Edwards as the director on this. He's known for having done the Godzilla movie, and he's gotten a lot of heat for that movie. I actually really enjoyed the Godzilla movie. When it came to Rogue One, I thought he was a great director because we have this massive thing called the Death Star. And Gareth Edwards did such a great job with Godzilla of showing scope and size, and he brings that to Rogue One. You see how massive the Empire is. You see how massive the Death Star is. You see how much of large scope everything is when the rebels are storming the beaches and everything else, like you'd see in Normandy, and there's the AT-AT walkers towering above them, and you get to see it from their perspective and their angle. I thought it was absolutely brilliant directing. I thought the special effects were amazing. I really can't gush enough about this movie. I really enjoyed it. Now, where it ranks in all the Star Wars movies, I don't know. I need to see it a few more times. I've only seen it once so far. You better believe I'm going to see it at least one more time in the theaters, and I'm going to watch it a whole bunch of times once it comes out on video. And I know for a lot of people out there, I'm probably sounding like a fanboy, but hey, I am a fanboy. I love Star Wars. It's the first movie I remember seeing with my father in the movie theater. I've seen every single Star Wars movie in the movie theater since the very first one came out. I was a little young to see the very first one when it first came out. I saw it when it was re-released, but I have seen every single one since then in the theater, and I did see the re-release of Star Wars A New Hope when it came out in the theater. So Star Wars has been a huge part of my life. It's part of the reason I started doing the podcast. It's why I started doing these video reviews with you guys. Is that I just love talking about Star Wars. I love talking about all the 80s properties I grew up with. So yeah, I'm a bit of a fanboy when I go see these movies. That doesn't mean that I'm not critical when I watch them either. Is Rogue One a perfect movie? By no means no. But at the same time, it's something you can really enjoy. And if you love the original trilogy, especially that first Star Wars movie, man, this really puts things in a different perspective. It's a great companion piece. So if you're a little leery about these ancillary movies, I wouldn't be anymore. I would say go see Rogue One. It's well worth the money to go see it in the theater. I know it's been a while since I've done some videos for you guys. I know they're not coming out as frequent as I'd like them to. That's going to change in 2017. I have so many comics that I want to review with you guys. I have a couple other ideas for this channel that I'm going to be putting together. I think 2017 is going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to doing more and more reviews. I'm going to start getting them out on a weekly basis, if not faster. So please, if you've been enjoying what you're seeing here, please hit that like button. And like I said, I have a lot more coming out. So if you want to be notified of those, hit that subscribe button. And I'd really appreciate if you started sharing this video around with anyone else that you think enjoys comics, enjoys these types of properties, enjoys Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, anything like that. Please share these videos with them. It helps get more exposure to the channel. With that, I'll go ahead and close by saying the Force will be with you, because knowing us is half the battle. Take care, guys.